the alien that was like operating him. That's unironically what he looks like. Like, we are doing everything we can to deport aliens. That's what we do. Deporting aliens is what we do. I'm not an alien. Please do not say I'm an alien. I'm not. Why would anybody entertain that? Ugh. Oh, also, the Department of Justice is charging Representative LaMonica McIver over an incident outside of the ICE facility. So the Department of Homeland Security is going after congresspersons as well, for the record, which we knew was going to inevitably happen, and here it is. But make no mistake, a world where the Brandonian administration or any Democratic administration engaged in this kind of prosecutorial targeting over political dissidents, over people that are of the opposing party, would be met with rallies, would be met with tremendous amounts of pushback. I think speaking with asthma would be constructive. What I really want to know is whose side everyone is really on. I am not an asthma supporter. I meant no disrespect. I agree with 98% of your takes. I think speaking with asthma would be constructive. Okay, then take it up with him. He's the one who doesn't want to entertain it. I have never said I won't speak to asthma gold. Do you understand? Also, you said generalizations are an issue or something. He's the one who cowardly will launch attacks from his hug box instead of entertaining a back and forth conversation. We're live at the same fucking time. He could just as easily have a conversation with me. We are friends on Discord. You know, it doesn't take much for Asmongold to entertain a conversation with me. He has done it many times over, and I've always been very respectful and very charitable to him, regardless of my differences in opinion, regardless of the fact that I find his worldview, or at least the way he presents himself online, to be repulsive.
That was the moment outside of an immigration detention center in Newark where the Justice Department claims a Democratic Congresswoman, LaMonica McIver, assaulted a federal agent. She is strongly disputing the charges. Justice Correspondent Scott McFarland is following this and joins us now. Scott, so what is the government saying?
And Nate, good morning. We could see those charging documents as early as this morning in this case of 38-year-old LaMonica McIver, a first-term Democrat from New Jersey. The video from earlier this month outside the Delaney immigration facility shows the confrontation with federal agents, McIver, a couple other members of Congress, and Newark Mayor Ras Baraka. The group was there for a routine inspection of the facility, but after Baraka was arrested, the scuffle ensued. McIver calls this a purely political prosecution and says it was the agents who created an unnecessary and unsafe confrontation. The misdemeanor case against Baraka was dropped Monday by the U.S. attorney. She said for the sake of moving forward. But at the same time, the U.S. attorney announced this assault prosecution of McIver. The Department of Homeland Security argues the group stormed the gates and that no one is above the law, but Democrats are rallying behind McIver. Gail, they're saying this is an attempt by the Trump administration to intimidate members of Congress.
All right, Scott, thank you very much.
So today on Capitol Hill, House lawmakers are set to examine threats to ICE operations. It comes as a Democratic Congresswoman faces federal charges. She's accused of assaulting a police officer during the storming of that New Jersey ICE facility earlier this month. Border Czar Tom Holman joins us right now. So, Tom, I said initially this was the right call. I'm glad they conducted the investigation. They didn't overcharge, but they didn't undercharge as well. What's your reaction?
Well, I said from day one, you cross that line, we're going to ask for prosecution. You cannot support ICE. You know, shame on you. You can push back against President Trump's immigration agenda. Whatever. You can protest, but you cannot cross that line. You can't knowingly impede a law enforcement officer, ICE officer. It's a crime. You can't knowingly conceal and harbor an illegal alien from ICE. You cannot, commit criminal trespass at our facilities and endanger our employees. And you certainly can't put hands on an ICE agent. So, she's going to have to pay the consequences for doing what she did. She broke the law, and we're going to hold her accountable.
Tom,
ICE agents are gods, dude. ICE agents are gods. If they're standing in front of you and you're standing in their way, okay? If they're standing in front of you and you're standing in their way, they have every right to kill you if they want to. You know what I mean? That's just how it works. You can protest, but in a way that if your protest actually stands in front of an ICE agent, then sorry, you're going to jail, you know? Okay, Intrepid Gamer, just like I said, the reason why his opinions are diametrically the opposite of mine is because for a lot of people who are apolitical or present themselves as apolitical or centrist, their entire worldview is motivated by what they perceiving me as an enemy. Okay, that's it. If tomorrow I was pro-Trump, some people would probably take up, you know, anti-Trump positions because they just don't care about politics. They care about going along with drama. They care about going along with like fighting against like a perceived villain. That's it. Like if Asmongold came out and was like super pro-Palestine and there were other disagreements that I had, I would continue to maintain my charitability towards him, at least on that issue, on every issue really. But like I would be honest about that. There are people who I don't like, who for good reason, there are people who I don't like. There are people who I don't agree with, that for honest and decent reasons are anti-Israel. Okay. And they're pro-Palestine, more importantly. And I recognize that. Then there are people who are sinister in their perspective, who are anti-Semitic and anti-Israel and simply using the Palestinian plight as a way to cut nefarious anti-Semitic propaganda. And I don't agree with those people, and those people, I openly say it. Anyway, let's continue. No, Candace Owens is in the second camp. Tucker Carlson is in the second camp. These are nationalists themselves. These are fascists themselves. They demonstrate fascist ideology.
Also the activists as well. If she wanted to conduct oversight, she could have scheduled an appointment, arrived there, and they would have gladly showed her the facility just like they did for our own Rachel Campos Duffy. But she showed up with a mob and they assaulted the cops.
Exactly. This is politics. This is politics over public safety, politics over common sense. I mean, that facility is one of...
Out of genuine curiosity, who do you think has valid opinions on Palestine, but you nevertheless don't like/disagree with? Vosh, Glenn Greenwald, Dave Smith. Half of the Republican Party that is, you know, not the Republican politicians, but at least like Republican voters that are anti-baby murder. Drake. Yeah, Vosh does not agree with me. I know. He also has like some weird ass take on how he thinks that Israel is bad and wrong, but also no one should resist against Israel, especially if they're resisting against Israel, but in a Muslim fashion. Yeah, Drake was one of the first major, I was just talking about this today. Drake was one of the first major artists to sign a ceasefire in Gaza proposal, openly putting his name out there. He was one of the first major artists, super early on. Anyway, yeah, there's some very cool breaking news here. Spain's Congress of Deputies has just approved an arms embargo against the state of Israel. Cool things are happening. Change doesn't occur overnight. I will take it. It might be too late at this point, but still, you know, I'm glad that it's gotten to this point. It should have been at this point, October 17th.
Finest facilities in this nation.
Anyway, let's get back to this fucking alien, by the way. Speaking of aliens, I mean, Tom Holman literally is like that Man in Black character that was like, that had an alien inside of him that melts. You know what I mean? The alien that was like operating him. That's unironically what he looks like. Like, we are doing everything we can to deport aliens. That's what we do. Deporting aliens is what we do. I'm not an alien. Please do not say I'm an alien. I'm not. Why would anybody entertain that?
Facility combines detention standards in the industry. That facility puts to shame any other facility in the state of New Jersey, any state or local facility. This facility puts it in shame because of the detention standards are so high. Anybody that looks at any of our facilities will say, well, that was a waste of time because these detention facilities are actually really well built, really well maintained. Detention standards are highest in the industry. So come on and look at it. But you can't break into the facility. You can't.
Why does Hasan hate everyone? He's so divisive. Hey, look, I'm not banned for no reason. Let's see how fast I can get it again. I mean, I'm not going to ban you. Have fun with it, chatter.
Force you away in the facility. And again, you can't put hands on an ICE employee. We're not going to tolerate it.
Tom, let's talk about these self-deportation flights. I think the first one arrived yesterday.
Sugar.
You guys are going to...
Tell me that's not Tom Holman, bro.
And water. More. More.
Got to pay folks $1,000 if they choose to self-deport. I was actually skeptical if this was going to work, but it looks like folks are already taking these flights. How did you convince them to self-deport?
Because if they don't, they're going to face serious consequences. You know, what we started doing, we're enforcing 2 laws that we haven't enforced in a long time. Number one, failing to register. If you don't fail to register after 90 days of being here, we're going to prosecute you criminally. Then we're going to deport you. And if you hinder your arrest, if you don't open the door, if you don't answer our questions, if you don't assist in travel documents to your home nation after being ordered deported by the...
Dude, that's crazy. He's like, listen, if you actually know your constitutionally protected rights as still a protected, undocumented citizen, okay? Because undocumented or documented, you still have constitutional protections. But if you actually try to entertain the notion of defending yourself, well equipped with your constitutional rights, we're still going to deport you in the process of deportation. Okay. So if we have the beat on you, it's over, is what basically Tom Holman is saying. It's like, if I have chosen off of a list why you can't be on this fucking, you can't be on this soil anymore, I'm just going to do it regardless. And we can do it the easy way, we can do it the hard way.
The immigration judge, and we're going to prosecute you for that, which is 8 U.S.C. 1253. So we'll prosecute you, we'll put you in prison. When you get out, we'll deport you. We're not playing games. There are going to be consequences. Leave on your own. If you leave on your own and work with us, you can get your affairs in order. It makes sense for them and their families. And leave yourself an opportunity to come back to this country as a visitor or as a student, or if you have a U.S. citizen child, they can petition for you as a parent of a U.S. citizen. There are other avenues to come to this country the right way. But if we have to formally deport you, we got to go find you, and we got to put you on a plane and formally deport you. There are consequences. There are bars from 5 years to 20 years. You can't come back. Some of the bars are forever. So leave on your own and give yourself some opportunity in the future to be part of the greatest country on earth.
Tom, I only got about 30 seconds. I just got to get your reaction to the former VP candidate, Tim Walz, going after ICE, saying all of these words, accusing them.
Like, dude, you are restoring the Fourth Reich. You are one of the soldiers, one of the major generals of the modern day Adolf Hitler regime. And you're going to talk about the comparisons being sad. I can't stand when right-wingers who literally are screaming bloody murder and pushing for some of the most violent deportation policies upon a population that does not deserve this kind of criminal enforcement, a population that instead deserves amnesty, turning around and complaining about how mean people are to them.
Essentially being Nazis as well. What's your reaction? You used to run ICE.
Just disgusting. Every man and woman in ICE straps a gun to their hip every day and wear a Kevlar vest to arrest the worst of the worst. Look at the numbers. ICE is almost arrested.
Yeah, Guatemalan moms. The worst of the worst. Who's the worst of the worst? Random people that have lived here for like 10 years who have never done a crime.
Arrested about 80.
Yeah, you don't understand. The worst of the worst, like Turkish American Fulbright scholars trying to get their PhD. The other side of the story that I think is very strange is that Donald Trump, with his immigration enforcement actions, is directly undermining the brain drain that has kept America's technological prowess competitive at the global stage. Doing this, especially at a time when China, a competitor that is slated to overtake the United States of America on development and has already become an industry leader in certain areas like artificial intelligence and solar panels and things like that, like the next step in energy. It is alarming that Donald Trump is also saying, like, no, we are going to be barbaric. Like, we are purposely going to make ourselves dumber. Going after doctors, teachers, going after people in higher education because they have not done a loyalty pledge to Israel is so strange at a time when you are looking at the global competition in research and development and recognizing that a big part of the reason why you want to fight against China is because you're worried about their domination in research and development. The reason as to why America's been such a dominant force on the planet also comes from the brain drain. Like, that's part of the reason. The best and the brightest used to come here. They used to fly out here and get educated in American colleges. Luckily, they would get a much better education leading up to the college education that they get here from their own countries, because that part America is not so great at. Okay, there is a major class disparity here for what kind of education you get K through 12 here in the United States of America. Whereas in these other countries, they do get a significantly better version of K through 12 education. And then they would come to the United States of America demonstrating excellence in their field. And America would benefit tremendously from their academic prowess. Now they're deporting fucking like doctors and PhD candidates and shit over parking tickets or over not saying 10 Am Israel highs every morning.
2,000 people in the United States, taking them off the streets, including his state. We've taken very dangerous people off the streets of his state, made his state safer. While he's sleeping at 3 o'clock this morning, there's ICE agents out there arresting public safety threats and national security threats in his state. You ought to be thanking ICE and not vilifying them.
Great time, Holman. Thanks, brother.
A Democrat New Jersey Congresswoman now facing federal charges for allegedly misconduct or for alleged misconduct toward law enforcement during the chaotic protest outside of that ICE facility earlier this month.
I mean, you see it in the video right there. Alexis McAdams is live in Newark. She was there initially when all of this broke out. Alexis, what can you tell us?
Hey, good morning. Yeah, we were out there the day that the Newark mayor got arrested. Things got pretty chaotic, and it wasn't as chaotic, though, according to investigators, you guys, as a few minutes before that arrest happened, after they say Representative LaMonica McIver was pushing and shoving ICE agents. Now the Congresswoman is looking at federal charges here, serious felony charges that we're told. Okay, so that's LaMonica McIver right there. You can see her on your screen for people watching at home saying, who is this lady? She's right there. She's shoving and elbowing an ICE agent, according to prosecutors. The video released by DHS is just one of many pieces of evidence, I'm told, that interim U.S. Attorney Alita Hava tells Fox led to several felony charges of assaulting, impeding, or interfering with law enforcement. Hava posted this on
I don't even know the exact details of this event that unfolded or like how it got to this chaotic situation. But on principle, I think trying to fucking arrest congresspersons of the opposing political party for being at a demonstration is ridiculous. It is a escalation, certainly. It's the type of escalation that Republicans actually fantasized about happening to them and their politicians under the Biden administration. This is also part of the reason why the Department of Homeland Security admitted to my detention and subsequent release, while simultaneously claiming that the lying for likes was done on what? Lying for likes was done on the basis of my targeting being political. They are worried, on the one hand, of looking as though they are targeting political dissidents. They're still worried about that because that right there is something that the Republican base does not support either. Some do, certainly. The Asmongoldians will probably fucking say, nah, this is base, this is good, just don't do the crime if you can't do the time. All that shit. But there are plenty of Republicans who, on principle, don't appreciate having their political enemies being targeted because they worry that that was a major concern from them for years and years and years, being targeted on the basis of their politics. Now, I'm not being hopeful when I say this. I'm not being naive when I say this. Make no mistake, there are still, of course, plenty of Republicans who are purely driven by spite and want this kind of fascist enforcement against political dissidents. They love it, and they not only entertain it, but they support it, and they push for it. Okay, this is everything that they wanted. But there are a lot of normies out there. There are a lot of normies out there who will look to this, who will look to this kind of enforcement becoming more commonplace and not appreciate it. I'm telling you. Because if that wasn't the case, then ICE would not say, the Department of Homeland Security would not have released this thing that I was lying about my my detention happening because of my position as a political dissident. What the administration chooses to deny is just as important as what the administration chooses to omit and what the administration chooses to recognize as the truth. When you look at that statement, the very fact that they came out and denied instantly that I was targeted on the basis of my political identity, that means that they're still worried about it at this stage. They might not be tomorrow, but at this stage, they're still worried about looking like they are engaging in political posturing like this. Because if they thought that this was already popular in and of itself, I think they wouldn't even deny it. They'd be like, yeah, he's an extremist. This political dissident is not simply a political dissident. He's an extremist, and therefore that is the reason why he was targeted. This is testing the waters of political targeting in terms of how the media will react to it. Because this is a out and about, clear-cut example of the right-wing administration targeting a political dissident who is a member of the opposing party. This is the first step of entertaining legal battles and looking at what the public's reaction will be like to jailing opposition party members. Do you understand? If this goes well for them, if they see that their own base of support is demanding more of this, they will do more of it, and they will do it openly. Dems need to nonstop flood all media about Palestine to get Americans to demand cutting the cord to Israel. Until then, Democrats can fuck right off. Brother, we're talking about something entirely separate here, even though it is connected, okay? Like, even Israel in and of itself is not actually about Israel. Even the targeting that people engage with, even the targeting that people withstand on the basis of like not being sufficiently pro-Israel is actually not about Israel at all in the eyes of the Republican Party. They're just using that as a talking point to undermine the First Amendment. They're using that as a talking point and burying it under immigration enforcement because that's their most popular, up until this moment, that's their most popular mechanism of enforcement, one that is actually under the control of the executive authority. They're using that to erode constitutional protections and civil liberties. It's not going to stay just at the fake anti-Semitism smears that they slap on the people and as they actively try to criminalize people who are supposed to be protected by the First Amendment. It will move to other shit. It will inevitably move to other bias is another area that they can start discussing.
Saying that the Congresswoman violated Title 18. It all started earlier this month when 3 Democratic Congress members from New Jersey thought, hey, today looks like a good day to go to this ICE facility to do some oversight. So it was Robert Menendez Jr., LaMonica McIver, and Bonnie Watson Coleman. They showed up to this facility in Newark, said they wanted a tour. They waited, but DHS says they then just pushed their way past the gates of an ICE detention facility without permission, and it led to chaos. Newark Mayor Ross Baracca was actually arrested that day. Now his case has been dropped. They were only misdemeanor charges, so they wanted to go after the bigger case, we're told. Investigators tell me McIver blocked police from putting handcuffs on Newark Mayor Ras Baraka, so agents had to wait to arrest him for trespass outside. So that's why it happened a short time later. Despite all this video evidence, McIver said she didn't do anything wrong. She says the charges are purely political, saying in part it's meant to criminalize and deter oversight. This is what she said last week. Listen.
We were simply there to do our job, therefore oversight visit and what you're watching in a video, and we don't have all of the body cam, and we hope that all of the body cam is released. It was very difficult to watch that happen, but absolutely, I did not body slam anyone.
And I actually talked to the Congress members out there that day, and she mentioned that Monica McIver, mentioned that she felt like she was the one who was under attack by federal agents. But that's not what the body camera video shows, according to DHS. Representative Hakeem Jeffries and other leaders of the Democratic Party aren't too happy about this. We're being told that McIver's got to turn herself in at some point today. So we got an eye in the courthouse. We've got crews around Newark to see when and if she shows up. So I'll keep you posted.
So Alexis, didn't you also report that one of her big offenses was blocking the mayor from being cuffed?
Yeah. That's right. And you mentioned earlier, I was listening to you around 6 o'clock this morning.
I think it's pretty funny what they're like, yeah, this lady was body slamming our fucking Gestapo thug. Just fucking ridiculous.
Brian, and that's when they said they had to wait until he came back outside the gate. So according to Congress members that were there, they were saying, we didn't do anything wrong. You know, why is he being arrested on public property? But they're saying that's impeding when they were inside the ICE facility. They wanted to cuff the mayor because he wasn't supposed to be there. And then they said, hey, no, don't do it.
So the mayor got exonerated. He's on his own, and it's
well, he cooperated.
Yeah,
he cooperated with the U.S. attorney, and so they dropped the charges. Thanks, Alexis. Ainsley, all of these people are looking for a moment, though.
You know, they really are, and a peaceful protest is fine. But what we saw there, the
Democrats need to do this more. By the way, like they need to do this more. They need to fuck shit up more. Like it's crazy. Like they need to do more civil disobedience. They need to put themselves out there more frequently. Like the reality of the matter is the only power we have comes from the numbers that we have. That's it. That's the only power we have at the end of the day is discontent and showing discontent. Bad Empanada radicalize you? Oh my fucking God. Look, man, I like Bad Empanada's YouTube videos. But you've been in here for 25 fucking months as a subscriber. Please. I think you've heard me say these things a million times over. Like, what is happening, dude? There is a reason why we didn't end up debating, but agreeing. It's because nothing he presented was actually something that I disagreed with.
did see her with her arm.
She should have pushed them.
Her elbow and then her arm and pushing through the cops, doing that to them. The same thing would happen to any one of us. It's not political. If you're pushing a cop, then you're going to get arrested or you're going to have charges. There's going to be some sort of a punishment. These guys put on their vests and their badges, like Tom Holman said earlier. They risk their lives to keep our community safe, and you can't treat them that way. Here's Tom Holman.
From day one, you cross that line, we're going to ask.
January 6th is peaceful, tickle party.